Yo, what up, Knuckles? It's your buddy Philko here, reporting live from the Petersburg, Petersburg, Ukraine. And I noticed me and Evil Princess talk a lot, and and she's here, say hey.
Hey.
And whenever I talk to her, I always realize I'm telling her some interesting shit that I didn't tell you guys. So why don't I just do two things at once? Tell her the story and make a video. So anyway, we were talking about me in St. Petersburg. I was talking about the first friend I ever really had in Russia was a guy named Boris. He lives in St. Petersburg, and I might be seeing him soon because I might have to go to St. Petersburg. And that's in Russian. And I was talking about how my career was actually like in the beginning. So as I was saying, at the beginning of the career, I wasn't giving classes in a classroom. When I was in St. Petersburg, I was giving classes on a stage. It was like a stage because I'm not really a teacher, I'm more of an entertainer. So it was like on a stage, right? And as we're on this stage, and as I'm on that stage, I have no board, no nothing, just me and a microphone. Like, did you ever see that picture of me holding a microphone? Yeah, it's from St. Petersburg. So I just talk about life, English, my family, just anything they want to know about, just talking about. Because it wasn't so much about, the thing with me is people don't really come to see me to learn English. That's like half of it. The other half is just talking to me and getting to know me. Like I've had seminars and stuff that had nothing to do with English. It was just about me.
So you didn't teach, you just...
At first, it wasn't about teaching. It was just people wanted to meet and talk to me.
Oh.
That's how it started. That's why I was on a stage. They was like, you're so interesting, the videos you make, blah, blah, blah. And so at this time, when I first came to Russia, I was actually married. I was married when I first came. And that's why I'm telling her the story, because this is how I met my ex-wife's, my former mother-in-law. This is how I met her, right? So I do my 4 hours, and my girl at the time was with me. The girl I was trying to divorce my wife for was with me. So this is dramatic, right? And she's with me in St. Petersburg. And so I'm out there doing my thing. So class ends. And as usual, it was like 90% girls, 10% guys, you know. And I'm doing all, there's like a line, this is the best part. There's like a line of girls. And I'm doing an autograph for one girl. And all I remember is seeing I saw a little, because she has short blonde hair, I see this little blonde top of a person just move right in the front of the line, cut in the front of the line next to me, and I can just tell the person's smiling, just from peripheral vision. You know, peripheral, I'm like, who the fuck is just cutting the line? I look, and it's her. I've only seen her in photos and on Skype, but I've never really met her. So, oh great, we have to talk, because we're having some disagreements at the time, because me and her daughter weren't really getting along and she wanted to help out, whatever. She's doing what any mother would do. I'm not trying to talk bad on her. My mother would have done the same exact thing. Not in St. Petersburg, but my mother would have did the same thing. So she brought her translator, we're talking and stuff, blah, 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 blah. She even caught my girlfriend in the staircase, started talking to her, and be like, this and that, he's married, and blah, 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 which is cool. Which is cool. It's what any mother would have done. I don't want anyone to think I'm talking down on my ex-mother-in-law. I'm not, you know. Everything she did that night, any mother would have done for her daughter. And you know, I understand it and stuff, you know. But I was like, you know, we're just having differences. Maybe I'll give another shot and get back to America, because I was only in Russia that time for a month, and I went right back to America, and we tried to work on it, right? So that's how I met her. But the funny thing, another funny situation about it was a lot of the girls were like, "Who's that?" They weren't saying it, but their face who's that bitch? Come on! They don't know that this isn't some random woman. This is my wife's mother. They don't know that. So because they just sat. She wasn't there during the show. She wasn't there during the show because during the break, everyone kind of met each other. She wasn't there during the show, so she comes in from outside, cuts in front of the line. Yo, those girls were mad. Nobody said or did anything, and there's a lot of things that happened during that show that's just funny that you can even see. You can even see it through pictures. There was one, oh my God. My ex-girlfriend wasn't extremely jealous, but she was tough. She was very tough, you know what I mean? She's tough physically, but she's not that tough mentally. I would say, especially because I usually live in a hostile environment, sometimes I end up with girls who are willing to actually hurt somebody. It happens, you know, and I don't mean a girl, I mean a guy. It happens. Sometimes I can end up with a girl who has weapons and shit like that. It happens, and you know, I like that. It's cool. It makes me feel more comfortable and shit. But she's not like that. She can't deal with criticism, but she can handle girls. She's tough with girls, you know what I mean? So that's what I mean tough. There's two different kinds of tough I've noticed out here, whatever. I mean, the girls who were tough, that shit is crazy. But anyway, I'll get to that later. So I was talking to a girl. Now this girl was extremely attractive, extremely, and I'm sure my ex-girlfriend knew that. And she was smart. She always gave me space when I was communicating with viewers and fans, whatever you want to call them, with followers. I don't know what the fuck to call. What do I call them? People who come to see because they're not really my students. I don't even want to call them fans. I don't know what the fuck to call them.
Followers, subscribers, blah blah, whatever.
But if I just know my subscribers, like, oh, we're not people, we're just subscribers. What the fuck do I call them? Fans? All right, fine. So I'm talking to her. She's a fan, whatever. And basically, we were kind of behind the wall, but the wall wasn't that tall. You could see our shoulders. And I guess the way I was positioned, my girl thought my arm was around this girl. Only thing I remember is drinking water and talking to this girl, and then my ex just appearing from behind the wall around the corner, just coming right in between us, and then she just looks at me, she goes, oh. Like right in front of the girl, oh, no, I thought you were doing something else. And then she just walks back. I'm like, oh, okay. What the fuck? But it was a lot of fun. And oh, another interesting thing. We went to a restaurant that night. Apparently, according to the news story, 30 minutes after we left, no more than 30 minutes after we left that restaurant, the mafia came, shot it up, and killed the owner.
Oh shit.
We left 30 minutes before that happened. The mafia, you know, those things don't happen much in Russia. So when it happens, it's the mafia. I mean, guns. I mean, fucking automatic guns, and killed the owner, took all the money. You know, and that was, we were just in there, you know, 30 minutes before we left. So that's good news. And
lucky you.
Fuck yeah, man. I wasn't in the mood for that shit. You know, it was my first time in St. Petersburg. I'm like, I'm not coming to this city again. You know? And I guess that's really all the interesting shit that happened there. I mean, how did it feel though? How did it feel? Because, you know, it was my first time having a show. It was my first time. It was about 50 people there at the show. About 50. There's a picture of it, me and all the... One thing I was impressed by was how attractive the ladies were. I was very impressed, and I was also impressed by how some of them were just older than I thought. I thought only people who watched me were like teenage girls and shit. But some of these women were businesswomen, women in their 40s and 30s that got money, and I'm like, and I just want to ask, why do you watch my videos again? Like, really, like, you're so business savvy. Like, I've met so many business women. It's like, why are you watching my videos? And of course, you know, everyone's offering me jobs and all this. Oh, that's the other part that's funny. The spies in the class.
Spies?
Spies in the not classroom, in the auditorium, the fucking arena, whatever the fuck it was. There were spies there because what happened was it was sponsored by an English school called Dialectica Club. So some people came from other schools to see if they liked me. So what happened, but my managers there were gangster. We don't get along anymore though. But they were gangster. The guy was like, I don't know what the fuck, I don't want to call him a gopnik, but he's like the type that just, I don't know, he's probably like, I don't know, like somebody who would hang out with Timothy. I don't know what you guys call them, but he's like blackish, Russian, thug kind of guy. Like straight up thug, like he doesn't care. If you do something stupid in traffic, he'll get out the car, slap you, get back in his car. Like that's the kind of guy he is, and he's big too, right? And the girl, she's like very attractive lady, just with business. She's like, oh yeah, do you want to do this? Like not to me, but to other people. Oh, you don't think so, boys? And like, I think she's the one that set those motherfuckers to kill them because they took too long to give us our food, and he's dead. You know, so they were kind of like gangster or whatever. Shit, I forgot what I was getting at. Oh. So she noticed that one guy was talking to me close. And she realized he was working for another school. I don't know if she recognized him for advertising or something. So she comes over and she's like, I invited him here. He's not doing shit here without my permission and without me getting money from it. Like she wasn't having that. And she's right. You know, and that's when I learned a lot about doing business in Russia from my mistakes. I learned a lot from doing business, and that would have been a mistake because I was going to say, sure, I can do something with you before I leave. But she's the one who paid for me to go out there, paying for me to go back. I didn't think of it that way. As soon as she said that, I was like, I'll never make that mistake again. And another mistake I made, I didn't even know this was a mistake. And I want you to tell me honestly if this was me being a mistake or these guys just using their power. You'll see what I mean. So there's a city where certain people invited me twice. I gotta be careful with my wording. They invited me twice, whatever, right to the city. And they advertised me all over the city, all this stuff. So I come back. I'm not there in the city. A different company calls me and says, hey, you know, we want you to come and do this. I'm like, all right, how much? Blah, blah, blah. All right, cool, I'll be there. So I called the people who invited me the first 2 times, like, hey, bro, I'm gonna be back in your city. And they're like, what you doing? I'm like, oh, you know, I'm gonna be giving lessons, blah, blah. It's like, with who? I'm like, some other company. And they're like, oh, we can't allow that. And I'm like, excuse me? He's like, we can't allow that. And I'm like, why not? And they're like, because we advertise you all over the city. And so a lot of people know you here because of us. So if you're making any money here, I'm like, all right, you know what? You're right. Call the guy. If he can't come up with a decision, if you guys can't come up with an agreement, then I won't go. They called the guy. Them and the guy don't get along. It was canceled. But I'm happy I called them before I just went there, because then it would have been problems and they would have had negative feelings towards me, you know? So I was like, oh shit, you know what I mean? And, so it's just every city I go to in Russia, I have history. And it's people I know there. Some powerful, some friendly. It's just because out here in Ukraine, though, this between me and Ukraine and Russia is Ukraine, I don't know anybody. And I admit it, I don't know shit here. I don't know anybody with power in Ukraine. Nobody. Because I haven't done tours yet. Once I do tours, it'll happen naturally. But I don't know anyone here in Ukraine. I'm just here by myself. But in Russia, the amount of people I know is incredible. And I realized that the day they tried to deport me, and how many powerful people came out and said, we're not going to let that happen. It was unbelievable. Like, I can never, I'm not going to say I'm a Russian patriot, but I can never turn my back on Russia and never forget Russia. So like, if I go back to America and become this big movie star, they're going to say, who do you want to give special thanks to? I'm like, oh, I got to give special thanks to this, that, da, da, da. The people of Russia. The people of Russia, yeah, you know, I used to live there for like 2 years. And I know it's going to sound weird. I'm like, you lived in Russia? Like, yeah. I'm like, what are you doing over there? You don't even, I'm like, you don't even want to know. I'm not going to go through that story. We're going to skip it, right? We're going to skip to me living in Russia, but I'd like to thank the Russian people for helping to get me on my feet. Like, I would say that, you know what I mean? So, yeah, just random story. And any questions, Nico?
Does it make an American guy cool if he lived in Russia for a while?
No, it doesn't make him cool. It makes him strange. You should strange. You should see how people react to me when I go back home. Like when I first came to Russia, first went to Russia, stayed for 10 months. I mean, I was supposed to only stay for 6 weeks. The plan was 6 weeks, but everything went so unbelievably well for me. I stayed for 10 months. Everything went so unbelievably well. And when I went back, you know, I had to do my taxes. And when I went to the tax guy, I was like, so if I make money in another country, do I have to pay tax in America? He's like, yes. I'm like, son of a fucking bitch, you know? So I'm like, okay, so let's get started. I'm like, I can work with you or I can do it independent. He goes, well, let's talk about your situation a little bit. And if I think you need to use me, use me. Other than that, just go do it yourself. I was like, all right, cool. So then he starts asking me questions like, all right, are you employed? I'm like, I'm more like self-employed. He's like, okay, what do you do? I'm like, I basically work in Russia. He's like, you work for Russia on a computer? And I'm like, no, I lived in Russia for like 10 months. He's like, what did you do there? I was like, I had my own personal business. And then he just like, you know, I have no more questions about what you do. He was just like, no more questions. Like, I don't have any more questions. I'm like, what the fuck? When people hear that you have a business in Russia, and especially when you can't specifically say what your business is, because I make money in numerous ways in Russia. Some ways people don't know, that's true. And they don't need to fucking know unless they're the government, so suck a dick. But, you know, when you tell people these things, when it's Russia, especially when you're a black guy, they're not gonna fuck with you. They're like, all right, you're on that special shit. You know somebody, which is true. I know people in Russia. I like Russia. I'm comfortable in Russia. You understand? Mm-hmm. You know, the guy who tried to get me deported, one of my people found out who he was. He found his ass. He found him. He found him. To this day, I know who this person is, but this person does have some power, but I'm not going to release it because I don't want to start anything big, but this is a person who has some power. You know what I mean? So I could easily contact people who have more power than people like, this motherfucker tried to get me deported making up lies that I was a Mormon and shit. I could easily do it. You know, he really found out who this guy was, and I was just impressed that this, and of course it's a business related issue. The guy deals with the English school. So he doesn't want me around in his territory, but that's not how you fucking do it to certain people, because certain other people who make money with that person won't appreciate that. You understand? So, other than that, man, so a lot of people in America they get freaked out. That was a tax guy. Who else got freaked out? My bank. Because when I went, my fucking bank. when I went back to America, I had a lot more money than I had before I left. Because before I left for Russia, I mean, in my bank account, I probably had I had $200. No. In total, $200. The bank plus what's in my pocket. I had nothing. Then when I went back to America 10 months later, I had a lot more, and I was able to open up this special bank account if you have a certain amount of money. I had a certain amount of money, so I opened up one of those bank accounts. He's like, wow, that was pretty fast how you did this and that. What were you doing? I was like, well, I lived in Russia for like 10 months and I had a business there. And he's like, okay, so he's like, he was a funny guy. He said some shit like, I don't remember exactly. He goes, so how long do you expect to be living? Because we can start saving up money, but if you're doing a business that's, life-threatening when you're out there in Russia, you can just save up money for 5 years, but if you think you're going to live, you can do 25, 30, and all this stuff. And I was dying laughing. I was like, man, look. So it's always a funny reaction when people hear, that I lived in Russia and all this shit. It's a funny reaction. Now, if I live in Ukraine sometimes, I'm like, I lived in Russia then Ukraine, I don't want to say I lived in Ukraine, at least I've been here for a year. I think that year time I can say I lived, But right now I'm just visiting, so I don't know. They don't find it cool, it's just... And I don't like Russian girls in America. That's one thing, it's very weird. When I go back to America, every time I go back to America, I avoid Russian women completely. I just don't like it. And the way they act in America, I just don't like it. I just don't fucking like it. You know what I mean? Because, like, a lot of times... Because, first of all, when I meet Russian people, I don't tell them anything about me going to Russia. Maybe some of my friends will mention it to try to grab attention or something for themselves. Like, oh, my friend here lived in Russia for 2 years. I'm like, nigga, shut up. Don't. Because then they're going to start asking me questions I don't feel like answering. But, no, most of them just go, oh, okay. Well, I've been in America so long, I forgot what Russia looks like and all this shit. It's like, oh, shut the fuck up. And it's like, where are you from? Russia. Where in Russia? Somewhere near Moscow. I'm like, where the fuck are you from? It's like, oh, Kazan. I'm like, oh, I've been to Kazan. Yeah, it's okay. It's like, all right, whatever. It's like, a lot of them try to distance themselves from Russia. You know what I mean? A lot of them try to distance themselves and, like, I don't have a problem with people traveling and shit, but, like, I travel, I never try to shit on America because I'm not in it. I never try to shit on America. I'm American all day, every day. I don't want any other citizenship with any other country. I know where I belong, I like it, blah, 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 I represent. But I don't like when people travel to, like, another fucking place and then it's like, oh, my home ain't shit. It's like, oh, just, I don't know. Like, shouldn't you have, I don't know. I mean, if you don't like a place, you can leave. But when you leave and talk shit about that place, it makes everyone think that place is really bad. Then people wonder why so many Americans think Russia is so crappy. Well, it's because a lot of Russian people go to America and talk shit about Russia. Especially the girls. My ex-wife, a lot of people do it. My ex-wife made me think Russia was the worst place to fucking be, how badly she didn't want to go back to Russia. And I go, but she's like, oh, you wouldn't understand. Now I fucking understand. I've been more places than her for like 2 years. I'm like, for a Russian person, I don't see the really big deal. But then again, I'm not Russian. Maybe there's things Russian people go through that I don't go through, that I don't know.
Maybe.
It could be. So I don't know. It's just, they make Russia look like it's just a monster country and shit. A lot of them do. Not all. But a lot of them do. And you can tell by the things they do in America just not to go back to Russia. They do so much just not to go back to Russia. Especially the girls. They do a lot just to stay in America, not to go back to Russia. They do the same. They do it in Canada. They do it in parts of Europe, not to go back to Russia. So what do you expect Americans to think when your people are there doing that shit, And then, when one of us decides that, hey, I'm gonna check this out. We have an intruder. Nigga, shut up. Shut the fuck up. Because a lot of Russians and Ukrainian people, the racist ones, not all of them, but the racist ones, they're used to looking at black people like, oh, you come to my country for this and that, where the fuck are you from? Go back to where you're from. No, we don't go to where you are. Excuse me? Really? No, but the thing is, a lot of friends I've met and stuff, they say they get that kind of shit from people. I've never gotten it. But I'm waiting for it. I've been waiting to go back to where you're from. We don't go to where you are. I'm not even. That's why I don't give a fuck when people are like, oh, do this and do that. Because in the end of the day, yo, you could do something stupid to me if you want. I always say this, and everyone knows this. Even the smart racist people know this. You can try, you can do stupid shit to me if you want, but in the end, it's gonna be bad for you and your country. It's gonna look really bad. Because it only takes one thing. It takes one thing. A lot of people think, it's just one incident. How can it? That's all it ever takes. Is one incident to turn things around. It's like in America, you get a guy who was killed by police, whatever the fuck. Wow, Mike Brown. Everybody's like against police. And it was just that one incident. At that time it was one incident. Now it's like a million incidents. But at that time it was one incident. People are like, why are people reacting this way to one incident? Oh my God, black people kill each other all the time. And I'm like, that's all it ever takes is one incident. That's all it ever takes. That one incident can represent everybody. And that's just how the world works. Unfortunately, that's how a lot of people see it. So, like, I'm a black person. I have to be careful out here. If I actually rape a woman, I will ruin it for interracial relationships in Russia and Ukraine for like ever. What the fuck? Battery low. Exchange battery.